NEVIEW A721. Picked this up off of Newegg. It was incredibly good price. Not actually sure how they get these things down in price. I'm going to do a build with it and do a review. I'm not a case reviewer, but I've built an insane number of computers. I've been testing some hardware here, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to put all this into the case and just build it. Again, I'm not Gamers Nexus here, but I'll do my best to look at the case and see how it is. The packaging comes well packaged. It's pretty well packaged overall. It came across the whole country, East Coast Canada to Central West Coast, Western Canada, so it's pretty good. Looks like there's nothing loose in there. The fans aren't kind of loose or anything, so let's open it up and just have a look at it. It's quite wide. You can see that there. Lengthwise, we can look at the dimensions, but it doesn't seem super wide. I had a Fractal Pop Air case, which is interesting that the Fractal Pop Air had kind of this mesh here. So basically that Fractal Pop Air was probably about that in size. So you just get a little bit more back there, which isn't huge. And the length seems to be about the same size. So I wouldn't call it a gigantic case, certainly not small, but it's also not gigantic. 2 fans in the side there to bring in air this way, 1 exhaust. I will probably need to get a couple more fans. Potentially, that should bring in enough air anyways. 2 in there, exhaust out there. If you're going to put an AIO in the top, you can. Down here we do have some I/O, so you get a Type-C, 2 USB-A, headphone, microphone combo jack, and an actual reset button, which is not common these days. Power. We'll peel this off after because I don't want to scratch that yet. So the sides here are magnetized. You basically just pull there, it just pops off basically. So you get some clips up there you can see, right, on either side. And then that's going to hook into these clips here. So you do have to pop it out. On the bottom there you do get a little bit of a lip, which will then hook into this lip here. So we'll put it back on again. Basically you clip that on there, you can see. Right, so it shouldn't just fall off because that goes in there. And that's going to give it some bite. You can see that lip there, right? And then it just comes down to snapping that back in. So, you pull it out, it's not going to just fall or anything like that because you have to actually raise it up like that. This actually is glass, actually. I thought it was acrylic, but it's actually a glass material. So that's definitely a glass side panel. So these fans look pretty good. Should be RGB, right? You can see the RGB headers even there. Looks pretty good. It's got like a little pull thing. We'll leave that on there for now so don't scratch it. Motherboard goes on there. Lots of room in the back. Unfortunately, it's white. The black one wasn't on sale. And then right after I bought it, the black one went on sale, and I thought, yeah, whatever, I'm not gonna return it. That's a dickhead move. So I basically I'm gonna go with white. Black would have been better because most of the components I'm going with suit a black motherboard, suit a black case, but that's fine. I'll live. Down the road, I can always put some other stuff in there, but it should look okay. I don't mind black on white. Some people do, but I don't mind it. So take that off there. Raise up, I guess. Yep, raise up. Okay, and there's the inside of the back. So we get the Sama fans. You can see that there. Decent enough wire management there hidden. Get your goodies up here. Hard drive caddy. Get that out of here. So hard drive tray there. So you can actually fit in a bring camera in there. You can actually fit a hard drive. So in here you should have enough room for a hard drive and an SSD. It's gonna go in there. Yep. And then do I have an SSD around here? Sure I do. Yes I do. SSD will mount in here, so basically be that way. And this will mount. It's not gonna sit there, but you'll basically screw it in. It's got the screw holes right there. Very nice. So you can get a hard drive and an SSD just right there, basically. Nice and out of the way. There's other places you could put other stuff. There's going to be lots of room in here when I'm done. But you could mount them in other places here. You get your RGB controller down here. It's actually screwed in, or double-sided sticky stuff in. And then you get your extra headers if you're going to add more fans. Basically your power buttons. And that looks pretty good, to be honest. In here, yes, there's a couple more in there, so it does come with some extra standoffs there. So we need one for sure for this bottom right hand corner. Okay, so that should be okay now. Let's get this back in here now. That looks good now. Okay, that looks fine. Motherboard is in. You can see that there. We have a motherboard. So this is just a kind of cheapo power supply that I actually pulled from the Legion pre-built that I built recently. For the purpose of this machine, it should be totally fine. It's 500 watts. I'm only going to put a 2080 in it and a 12400, so it should be totally fine. Look at that. It's actually nice to have some room. I'm always using like relatively small case. Fractal Pop Air. The Legion one is pretty small, tight in terms of getting power supply and getting cords in there. And that's why I definitely went with a modular supply on that one, because there's just not a lot of room. Yeah, that was very easy. Look at that. Not exactly a huge thing, not exactly a small thing, that's totally fine. Wires we'll deal with after. Feed all that extra through for now. Where do I want to put the motherboard one? Motherboard pin's right here, so I could probably just go through here. Looking good. Okay. Pull some of that back through for now. Okay, so I'm going to be sacrificing one of my SATA. This is not the most connected power supplies, so I mean, it is what it is. I'm literally, I took it from a pre-built, so it's not the end of the world. You could technically, I mean, there's a lot of room down here, right? You could easily stick more drives down here. Put a lot of stuff down here, right? Look at how much room there is down there. That's much bigger than a SSD. So you could mount an SSD down there. You could mount it like that. You could put in a stack of SSDs. Right? You could be like, look at all these SSDs that I have here. You could just stack them in there and just tape them all together. So there's lots of room down there. There's quite a big gap down there. This one you're not going to want to block because that's your air intake, right? You're not going to want to block this because it's an air intake. That's not going to want to be blocked. You have a little bit of a void in here you can work with if need be. You know, there's some, you could mount something on there, whatever, it's not a big deal. Probably just the cables go in there. All the extra cables get hidden back there. And then you're not going to want to block this over here, obviously, because that's airflow, SSD. So you will have a little bit of spare space down here. Like I said, if you want to stack SSDs down there, right, hide them down there, or maybe just hook them up. And there we go. Step one, it works. So bent pin CPU is apparently bent pin motherboard. It's so far working. We'll have to mess with it. I have the fan just sitting on there. We're not doing a BIOS update, so it's fine. Looks pretty good. Yeah, this is a 3-slot. The top one's actually going to have to take out one more, actually, because of where it's positioned, which is a little weird. Okay, so it's in there. You can see got our GPU in. Over here, basically you just close the latch. I'm going to put this back in real quick. Does that go under or over? I can't remember. I guess that goes under. So that closes up there. Then we can close our little door here. Okay, and there we go. That's in there. I guess I could put in a top one, but it's fine. I'm just going to leave it off for now. Put that, close that up, and there we go. Other than, you know, hiding wires and that kind of stuff, we're getting pretty close to being finished. So here's the system all closed up. So what are our specifications? Well, CPU, I ended up with the 12400, not K, not F, just 12400. Cooler here is the AS120. Not silent, but it's okay, it does fine. RAM, I put in 64 gigabytes. I had 32 before, but I'm going to end up probably selling this system to somebody. So I want them to have, you know, good specs, I guess. Doesn't really matter, but whatever. The stock fans there. I didn't add anything to the top. RTX 2080, and that's an EVGA model there. It's a really good GPU. I used it in several videos for eGPU testing. It's an excellent GPU there, runs extremely cool. So it's going to be sad to see that one go, but it's just kind of sitting around. I just use it from time to time for eGPU testing, so someone will enjoy it. So that's the system there, and then like I said, it's the MSI Tomahawk. Everything runs fantastic. I did memory tests, I did CPU tests, lots of different things, ran CPU Z, ran Cinebench and that and everything, so everything's running perfectly fine. Did some firmware, everything's running great. So it's a rock solid system. Luckily the pins weren't too bad on the motherboard. They were just slightly, like almost like someone just gently nudged them, a few here and there. So I ended up just going through with an X-Acto knife, basically very, very gently moving them with good lighting, just kind of put them back into position there, and then yeah. So it's below 40. It's not noisy, but you can definitely hear the fans going. You know, if this was off to the side or something, you probably wouldn't hear it. If it was, you know, setting away from me, I probably wouldn't hear the noise of the fan. But as it sits right now, it's pretty close to me. I can definitely hear them going. My Legion pre-built that I made a few days ago, you know, the fans will run much quieter, but that's fine. There's no coil whine on the fans, the Sama fans here. There's no coil whine at all, no kind of whistle. But I will do some gaming now. I'm going to load up some games, and we'll check the noise and the temperatures and all that kind of stuff while doing some games. Here we are running some God of War. Just basically let it cruise at the menu there for a little while. It's not really changing the temperatures. The noise doesn't seem to be changing, so that's nice. Maybe 2 dB higher. So the acoustics of the case seem pretty good. I can definitely hear the fans. The mic will probably exaggerate it, but I don't find it any noisier than any of my other cases, really, other than the fact that the fans are going at full speed or whatever, but there's no coil whine, nothing irritating about it. So the mic will over-exaggerate the sound, the noise level, but what I want you guys to hear is the fact that it's not an irritating noise. It's not pitchy, there's no coil whine, nothing. It sounds pretty good. So let's see what we get here in terms of temperature. I'll flash up on the screen while I do it. We don't need to always have super high production value with pretty graphs. Really good temperatures there on the CPU, 43, 58, 48, 48. So cold, cool. It might have warmed up for a moment there, but it's running relatively cool. Again, not super intensive on the CPU here. That's fine though. Let's go down to the GPU here. This GPU typically runs really cool. It's a big boy GPU, nice and cool there. So yeah, even though we're running this is God of War, so it's a very GPU bound game for me here, especially at 4K ultra wide. So the CPU is kind of just chilling. But you can see here 70, 81, and 83. Pretty good for that GPU, to be honest. Pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, that looks looking pretty good there. And you can see, you know, the SSDs and that are all running fine. All the system here is running nice and cool on the motherboard. That looks good. Yeah, it looks like it's running nice and cool. I'm not seeing any issues here with temperatures. So running nice and cool. I mean, maybe if you had a big 4090 in here and a 13900, you'd probably want to get like an AIO or something and make sure there's good flow. But I'm not seeing any issues here, right? Everything's running nice. The memory's running cool enough too on the GPU, right? So everything was looking good there. All right, and so for the final test here, I'm just going to open that there. We'll get some Cinebench running. We will get some firmware running. Again, I'm not looking for performance here and blah, 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 blah. What I really care about here is just we'll check the temperatures. So we're just going to let this run. The actual AS120, I can hear it going a little bit. It's not the most quiet CPU cooler, so I can definitely hear those fans there going a little bit. But the case itself, the acoustics of the case seem to be muting it fairly well. I can definitely hear those fans going now. Let's check it. I don't think it's going to really improve the dB. Maybe a couple there. Yeah, so that's the dB when we're just blasting the system. And the mic is very close. Temperatures here look quite good. We can see here on this CPU, very good, 60, 60, 42, 40. We can let it run for a while, but yeah, obviously I'll see if it gets any worse. Motherboard looks fine. No issues on the motherboard there. and the GPU is about the same as when I was playing games, because God of War was very GPU heavy. But the overall case is evacuating heat, you can see there. So the GPU is no hotter than it was under God of War, which is good. That means that, you know, it's moving air through the case effectively. And the other thing is that the CPU is not running relatively hot. Again, it's a 12400. But, I mean, with a relatively budget cooler, it's, you know, the AS120 is very low cost. It's a good cooler, especially for its price, but it's a low cost cooler. So, I mean, you know, we could slap on some Beast in here or some, you know, AIO or something like that, and obviously improve temperatures, but very acceptable here. So the case itself is looking pretty good. Low cost, aesthetically nice. There's no noise issues with it, no rattle on the system here. I mean, we're under max load here with Furmark and Cinebench going at the same time, and everything's looking nice and good on this system here. So pretty happy with the noise of it there. Pretty happy with the acoustics. Obviously the visuals are nice. I've never built one of these like fish tank aquarium style ones, and it looks quite nice actually. Would have been nice to get a black case, but it wasn't on sale at the time. But, you know, if I went with a black case, then it would kind of fit this whole kind of black vibe here. But I don't mind the black and white contrast there. It looks totally fine. But at the time of the white one was on sale, and then of course like 2 days later, or the next day I think it was, the black case went on sale. That's unfortunate for me, but whatever. I'll live. Lots of room in here as well. I mean, there's extra room down below. You could obviously mount some fans on the bottom if need be, if you really wanted. You know, there's lots of room in there to mount fans. If you want to move a little bit more air directly into that GPU, you know, shoot some air directly up in there, you could certainly add a fan or two, maybe a fan there. That would move air directly into the GPU, which would dramatically decrease the temperature of the GPU, obviously. That's something, if you want to do, go for it, right? It's going to be a nice little addition to your system there. I might actually do it and retest, we'll see. But I've seen sales constantly on this case here, the white one and the black one. And for the sale price, I mean, it's an absolute steal. I think it's definitely worth it. It's going to be really hard to beat the quality of this case for that price.